And we are live. Welcome back to On the King's Dime. It is Monday night. We are here to discuss the round 5 action against the New Zealand Breakers and the Illawarra Hawks. We're back home finally. And we were in the building Friday night. It was good to be home. It was a good night out. Absolutely bucketed down as well while we're out there. Luckily, we just missed the rain, which was good. And then the heartbreaking loss sort of on the weekend against the Illawarra Hawks. Having those guys back in the building was an interesting contest. But as always, you can like and subscribe on YouTube. We're on Facebook as well. We're also on Twitter doing some tweeting about terrible ref decisions and stuff like that. That's always fun to watch us be salty about that. And the podcast is available on audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. What was the other one? There was one more, I think.
Spotify's on. It's on Apple.
There was another one. So I'll shout it out in the Facebook page what they are. I'll gather a list together. So if you want to listen on audio form, that's the way to do it. And if you want to check us out, want to hit us up and try and get us to put it on your preferred platform, just send us an email or send us a message on Facebook. We'll try and do that for you. Anything else we need to plug? Oh, I did a video on how we overcame the Adelaide 36ers. It was a long one. I seriously could have gone an hour just geeking out on some of the stuff that we ran in that game. It was a really good performance. So if you haven't checked that out, go and check that out on YouTube. Thanks to everyone as well for giving us 3-2-1 MVPs. We're getting more and more people doing that. That's always a good thing. We want to get more fan interaction this season. And yeah, it's good. So make sure if you haven't done that and you're listening right now, just go on to one of our posts, even on this one, and just give us a 3-2-1 who you thought was the best player and the second best player and the third best player. 3-2-1 is pretty easy. Go and do that if you haven't done that. And I think that's everything. First game, New Zealand, Friday night, back in the building. Good to be home. It's great to be home.
That was a very surreal, strange experience to be in the building where we're learning sign language of how to sign S and Y instead of yelling, but everyone's yelling and no one's wearing masks.
Yeah. No, I thought that was like, and nobody is wearing masks. Like I was just a bit like, whoa. But you stayed strong. You wore the mask the entire time. I had the mask just around the neck, just making sure if anyone came past, it was like, oh, put your mask on. I could, yep, no worries, just put it on. It's all good. But yeah, I thought that was a bit,
Didn't someone get kicked out of the Opera House for not wearing masks?
Yeah, I read about
the
it.
next night.
It's like, why didn't they go to the basketball?
There's an outbreak at the Sydney Kings game.
So yeah, I thought armchair COVID. We'll start with that. I thought it was a bit like, oh, okay, cool.
It was in the tickets, like you have to wear a mask, like bring a mask, and then there was just no one there policing anything.
There was no one there. Actually, that's the part that I was like, oh, there's no one. There was like a bomb scanner to go in, basically. We had to go in through these crazy scanners and stuff like that, and then to get inside, and we saw probably where around us there was probably maybe 30 or 40 people at most in our bay sort of wearing masks, but the majority of people weren't really wearing masks. So it was a little bit like, oh, okay, cool. And then you instead of being like, oh, this is a disgrace, like why aren't people wearing masks? I was kind of just like, oh, everyone's a bit like, oh, whatever. And that's a bit weird. Does that not feel a bit weird that everyone's supposed to be like, it's all good?
Fatigue, mate. We've got this COVID fatigue. We've had enough of this bullshit. We just want to get back to some normality and stop all these ridiculous lockdowns and just everything. So I think it was just everyone's sick of it. It's been a little bit more open and liberal in New South Wales for a while now, and we're just happy to actually get some basketball back in the house. It's funny how Melbourne's gold standard. Oh, we're going to put a tournament down in Melbourne, and now it's kind of Sydney. That's the gold standard of openness and preparedness. But it was a bit interesting to see just absolutely zero masks. You look at all the Adelaide games on TV, look at the Melbourne games, everyone's wearing masks. It's just like as soon as they finish their sip of water, like the mask back up.
Yeah, you're there, and mask back on.
It's just like in Sydney, there was just I didn't see anyone like checking tickets inside, looking at anything, checking masks. There was like no COVID safety marshals. The staff weren't even wearing masks. Some of them. It was just really weird.
Yeah, it was unusual.
And we went to Dirty Bird beforehand, and just none of the staff were wearing masks, and there was like 15 of them in a confined space. Just like, well, this is just right for the taking.
Yeah, it is, but it is what it is. I thought it was a bit strange. You know, I don't. It doesn't bother me, to be honest, but I thought there was going to be like crackdowns and stuff. Like that's what I was expecting. I'm less of a knocking people out and more just like I was expecting people to be a bit more full on about this. Which they just weren't. So it was an interesting night. It was not a good game of basketball. Let's be honest.
No, it was pretty terrible.
Little bit of road fatigue, I'd say, from the boys going all the way out on that huge 6-game road stretch to come back in the building, sleeping in their own beds. You would think they'd come out with a point to prove. And you made a really good point. We were sitting there on the night saying, you know, whenever New Zealand come and play in our arena, we always just play down to their standard.
Yeah, that New Zealand team I feel sorry for, because they signed Lamar Patterson, who he must have been eating some Krispy Kremes over the break, man, because he does not look like a basketball player that's fit, and he's fallen way off a cliff. Like his form, and you know, scoring 6 points. I think he had 0 the other night in the game. You know, this was a guy that 2 seasons ago was putting up 20 and 6 a night and 20 and 8 a night, but not anymore. And so that's their kind of import. And you know, it's really just up to the Webster brothers to just fang bombs from everywhere and see if they hit.
And we did get a bit of Webster action.
Yeah, we did.
What do you think about Ty Webster, the younger Webster?
Look, they're both pretty savvy little point guards. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that they played well. A little bit too much, like kind of like weekend street ballers, more than, you know, getting the team involved. The team's weird though. It's not really built well. They had a couple of Iverson. He's a big, and Rob Lowe. They got some big like centers, and I think that was our biggest struggle. I think if we went to more of like a faster style game, we would have blown them out of the water. But they had some big centers that could set some good screens, could just bash us in the paint. You know, Jarrell Martin, you know, playing him at the 5 because we're kind of down a bunch is not really helping in stretches. I mean, when Hunter was on the floor, he was okay, but they had some big centers, and that really caused us some problems pretty much for the first 3 quarters. And then we kind of figured out how to get around that when they got into a bit of foul trouble. Quarter 4, and that was it. That was the kind of the way. But that game was very uneventful. We didn't like, oh, this guy had a good performance. This guy, no, just kind of limped to a like a standard conclusion.
Yeah, it was. I think, did the boys feel flat? Like, it felt flat to start with. Like, it felt like almost an exhibition type game where you come out, you know, at a level that's professional. You know, we'll play at a level. We'll you know, just feel the game out. I think we tried to kind of put a little run together in the third, and it didn't really happen. And then suddenly they were up, I think 3 or 4 in the fourth quarter, and then we just, you know, went on that huge run to basically seal the game. The boys was like, like phoning it in, and then, you know, we'll just put a fourth quarter run together, boys. It's all good. Win that game. And none of the guys really played that well, I thought, which was a worry. Like, it was, and like nobody had a performance where you looked at that and went, wow, like, you know, these guys are really staking their claim for you know, some accolades on this team for more minutes, et cetera, et cetera. DJ struggled a little bit, but you're right, they kind of had some bigger bodies. Lamar Patterson, obviously 1 of 8, and I think his 1 basket from the field came like right at the end, basically at the end of the game. They were down like the end of the gameplay. Basically, did
he shoot a 3 or something?
No, it was like he just drove in under no defense and just laid the ball in as his only made basket from the field. And he struggled defensively too. Like he had to guard Sean Bruce and DJ a little bit. They kind of ran him ragged, and it's kind of what was expected for this Sydney team. The other thing too, you're right about there having a couple of big bigs. Like Iverson's a big guy and Rob Lowe's a big guy, and then you kind of punching the ball to Martin the entire time.
Yeah,
like expecting him to, you know, really finish around these bigger guys. There's a couple of times he finished around them, and there was a couple of good finishes from him. But mainly, you know, I don't know what that Breakers team really is. But at the same time, I felt like we played down to their level as opposed to, you know,
we played down to their level. I also thought that they fouled a lot. A lot of a lot of fighting around screens, a lot of, clipping guys, a lot of holding.
25 fouls
Yeah,
to our 12.
Yeah, it was just absurd. And these weren't like, this wasn't home cooking. Like sometimes I agree there's some home cooking. These were bad fouls. Like these were just clearly like, and he's just pushed him over, or like, and he set a screen that's still moving like 3 meters.
Yeah, right. He grabbed the guy on a screen and just pushed him over, and then turned around and went, "What? What do you mean that was a bad screen?"
But essentially, we won the night because we shot the went to the free throw line and shot the ball really well. We've only missed 3 free throws of 28. Was it 25 of 28?
25 of 28, and that's something I think we're shooting the free throws at about 79%. I want to say. I've got the numbers here. I'll just quickly get them up. But it wasn't great, to be honest. Getting there. Come on. We are shooting at 75% this season. So for us to, make 25 of 28 was basically won us the game.
Yes.
You wouldn't say necessarily that won us the game. Like, oh, lucky we shot well at the free throw line because that won us the game. But at the same time, basically supplemented it enough for us to win the game. Performances,
nothing stood out. Nothing.
Nothing.
Bruce,
Zero.
I think had a decent game. Moller was terrible.
I thought Moller was all right, actually. Without scoring, I thought, a little bit better. Like he's got the size to kind of get around the bigger guys and cause a little bit of mayhem, which I thought he did. It kind of helped us at the end.
Turned the ball over a lot though. So that was Newley. No,
for Turner. That Newley. Yeah, we'll get to Newley because there's a segment on Newley.
Look, I mean, in the game against. Fast forward to the Sunday game, Moller, for my mind, was man of the match. Just what he was able to do towards the end of that game to keep us in it. But for this game, no performances stood out. Casper shot the 3-ball well, but then just kept running into traffic and trying to score, and that was a bit silly. Jarrell Martin had a decent game. Like it just we're sitting there, we're just kind of like, oh, this game is not really great.
Even sort of in the third and fourth, you're kind of sitting there down, but still kind of going, I don't really care that we're down. And I don't really care if we, win the game from here as well. Like it didn't have that feel of just like, I can't believe we're down. Like this is, what's going on? Like I kind of sitting there just going, we'll pull this out probably.
But this is, we had 3 off the bench. Tommy Vodanovic, Moller and Newley. We're down to 8 players. And it's a
slog.
Sorry, Kendrick Drew.
Kendrick Drew, 46 seconds.
Was -4 in 46 seconds.
And he was yanked. He came out, I think they scored 2 baskets. I remember telling you, hey, he's coming out on the court. And then I think he made 2 terrible plays and then they scored 2 baskets and he got yanked. It was like, okay, have a seat down there. You're not coming back out tonight. Tommy Vaudeville got his quota, 1 of 2. It was good.
It wasn't that bad. It just wasn't a performance that I was completely impressed by. And it was a bit of a shame to go to the game. Would have been a much better game to go on Sunday, even though we did lose. It was more of that kind of nailed biter vibe. Whereas this was just like, and we're always going to beat them, especially when they're all fouling out and all in foul trouble. Now they're not defending, and there's a run, and it's all over.
Yeah, I think I just didn't want to go to a game where we lose. I thought we were just going to crush the Breakers. Everyone would have been itching to come out and really show off in that game, but we didn't see that. It was very just let's make this kind of like an exhibition game, play slow pace. Shawnee Bruce had 9 points, 4 assists. Again, he runs that pick and roll quite well, except we just don't have great pick and roll players. We've got Geordie's not horrible. Jarrell Martin's not horrible. But we don't have a big that it's just like, Shawnee, you're going to get 8 or 9 buckets tonight just from running pick and roll. Like it's very disjointed, and the slow pace was a real struggle. We had very few assists in this game. I was looking at the stat pack. I think we had 11 assists. I think we're averaging, what are we averaging? I don't have it in front of me, but I'm pretty sure we're averaging about 20 assists a game. So to have 11, that's not great ball movement, and that was one of the big things. We're like very static.
Yep.
kind of tossing it into guys. Jarrell, Geordie, inside. Geordie's still a little bit of an enigma.
He can play really well. You're like, wow, man, he did have a good block this game though. He did have a good block.
He did. I can't remember who it was on there.
Yeah.
Delaney. It was Delaney tried to dunk over the top of him and he blocked him.
Right. It was a good block.
That was in slow motion at the game. Yeah. Like it just felt like that was in slow motion. Delaney bringing it up the floor, slow motion. And he was just like, right, I'm going to dunk on him. And Geordie's just like, no, I'm going to block her. And then it happened. It was strange, wasn't it?
That was kind of the only time in the game where everyone's like, yeah, get up out of your seat and we're going back to sit down because it's the breakers.
Yeah.
People just talking to each other, just like, oh, okay. It's a bit of a social outing. All these ladies are there, just like, oh, this is, good that they're we're there to support and pay for some tickets. But it's a bit light on the old entertainment at the moment, isn't the live game?
Mm.
Yeah, can't shoot shirts in the crowd. There's not really anyone doing anything.
Yeah, everyone's social distancing.
And it's half time. And it's just quiet. And you're like, yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah, it's bizarre. The clapping sticks too. Yeah. Those clappy sticks are good, but it always, like I was telling you, it always just reminds me of that first Melbourne game with Bogut when he fouled out. And I just remember them standing there for the first 2 minutes of the game, and me just being like, stop clapping them sticks, sit down. This is annoying. But it's a good addition because if you don't have a huge arena, like a full arena of people yelling, those sticks actually make some atmosphere. So I was like, cool. Because I'm pretty sure Leicester do it in the Premier League. I remember them doing it with them stupid clappy stick things, like the hands that are plastic. And that was like, oh man, that makes a lot of noise. So it's good to see those sticks in action. But yeah, the atmosphere is just weird. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just a little bit weird. But I was happy to be out there and watching this team. It's always a different experience watching it at home as opposed to watching it in the building. You get all these different perspectives. The game feels slower. You're watching the game and it just doesn't feel as fast paced and powerful as it does when you're watching it on the TV.
Yeah, I think the camera panning, definitely when you've got it in one kind of eye motion, you just have to look up, then it's a little bit different. And especially from where we were, we could kind of get the whole game without moving our heads, which was good. But yeah, that's really it from
that game. I do because we are going to talk about Newley in this Hawks game, but Newley's around the basket game is disappearing. It's just gone.
He was so good the first two games. It was oh yeah, it's Brad, and I'm wondering if he's got a bit of a niggle and just playing through it. If there's something going on there, because that's not Brad. That's
very his hands are a bit all over the place as well. He was dropping balls. He was backing in on guys and then going, oh, I'm not going to go to the hole. I'm going to just catch it and then try and toss it back out to someone. You're just man, just go to the hole. What are you doing? Well, you're in transition. You've got 15 feet. There's two guys in front of you. Just go at them. What are you doing? And that I think was a big part of why we struggled because there was a few opportunities for him to really push the pace and make us run. And I said in that video, we've got to up our tempo. We've got to play with speed because that was one of the reasons we beat Adelaide is the speed just absolutely destroyed them. And we've got some guys to do that. Sean Bruce is really good at getting out in transition. Brad Newley, they had a run out against Adelaide where basically it was just out in front of everyone. I was just just toss it to Brad and, it's an easy layup. But there was no chance in this game to do any of that, which is a worry. Casper, he had 22. DJ, 17 was another solid. What's your thoughts on DJ before the Illawarra game?
There's definitely room to grow, but in saying that, he's probably the most exciting young prospect in the league. It doesn't seem like Brucey can create a shot in rhythm. Or create a shot off the dribble, whereas DJ can. He's got a good mid-range game. He's got a good rim game. He's got a good three-point game. Probably doesn't have the court vision that he can potentially develop. It's all singular. It's always just bucket, bucket, bucket. And I think that maybe sometimes he's got to look up. But I didn't see a lot of great picks being set. They don't ever double rub. There's no ever double rubs for him to set up DJ. However, in this game, they did set some good down screens for him to get open in the corner. So they set some Casper down screens to get him open in the corner. And he hit two corner threes, which were nice in this game. But
he's a rookie, right? It's his first season, and he feels like he's good enough to be. Oh, you've been here 3 years, and you're the main weapon on offense.
Yeah.
Basically, because there's a bit of a dearth in that shooting guard, small forward type position. You know, Newley's shooting the 3 ball quite well on sort of low amounts. He's got our best 3-point percentage this season, and it doesn't like I like DJ creating shots, but it takes it out of the flow of what we're doing. Like you can tell it's like, oh, DJ's, grabbing the ball and having to make things happen as opposed to him just scoring in the flow of what we're doing on offense.
Yeah.
Because it also takes Casper out as well. Like it's just it's a weird dynamic we're kind of having to build into this team basically because he's a rookie and because we've got a bunch of glue guys and they're nothing to glue together.
Yeah.
And there's no, like, I'm sure if it was DJ's second or third year and he was like, I want to go to the NBA next year, like he'd just be gunning and it'd be a lot better to watch. I think he'd be playing a lot better. But I think you're pairing him with a point guard in Casper. It's not, I don't think it's the right fit. It's just it's a bit unusual.
Yeah, I think DJ is definitely someone you kind of put in with Bruce. I think it's a DJ Bruce mix. But then again, this team this year is really we're just injury prone, injury riddled, and you're just kind of putting your best on the floor that you can.
It's running on fumes, eh?
Yeah, it's running very, and we can talk about this next game because there was some very, very low IQ plays in this next game from Tommy V, from Hunter, just fouling out and then okay, that's it. And then I have to say, for my mind, the Sunday game, Moller was my man of the match. 3 points. Just what he did off ball in shutting down Cam Bairstow, in getting those rebounds, getting the offensive rebounds. Mate, he kept us in that game. If there's no Moller, there's no us game. There's nothing.
Yeah, single-handedly, I think he had something to glue together basically because it was like, a raft going down a rapids, basically. You had it's like we got to do this, otherwise we're going to lose this game handily. So it was good to see him play really well. That Illawarra team, if we can just quickly, it's a good team. It's not a great team, but you can tell it's well coached.
It's very, very.
And it just goes a long way. In the fact that Ogilvy on offense, pretty average. Sam Froling, against our array of bigs, can have a good night. Like he didn't have a great night, but he's a crafty player who can get going. Dengadell, I didn't think played that well.
Didn't play that well, but shot big in some points.
Made a couple of clutch buckets. You're right. I like Justinian Jessup.
He went 53 in this year's draft. I think he went really late second round.
He's a draft and stash from the Warriors. Yeah.
Good. I mean, he's not NBA quality.
I think he's he'll make about the Luke Kennard level. He really reminds me of Luke Kennard, like a scorer that just isn't like, wow, what a scorer, but a scorer that's like, hey, pretty solid. You know what I mean?
But he's only about 6 foot. Luke Kennard's 6'5".
Jessup, I think let's check that. But you can tell that team's well coached.
Yeah, it's very well coached. Yeah, it was good.
He's listed on NBA draft at 6'7".
Justinian Jessup.
Yeah.
He did not look 6'7".
Yeah, he's listed at 6'7". I think he looks a little bit bigger than he looks. Yeah, I think he is a bit bigger than he looks. But yeah, he just feels like that scorer, like a combo scorer, like, handy little scorer type guy. So, and it's what that Illawarra team needs. If you look at really, like Deng Deng, Nah, White, Darling, like they've got a lot of scorers on that team. It's just like minuses, like Ogilvy and Froling. You're not going to get a Humphreys type performance out of those guys.
No.
So Jessup's got to stand up. Harvey, that floater, man, those 16, 18 foot floaters, somebody should be just like, no, you can't play basketball. Sorry. Like if you're going to keep shooting those, you can't be playing professional basketball. Like shoot a jump shot or get off the court. But he hit a huge 3 at the end too. Yeah, that was just like
sniper.
Well, you just like, and that's a chuck, and it went down. So what are you gonna do?
The salt.
Yeah, I forgot. I'm going to change it over to On the King's Salt. Just give me a sec. Here we go. Boom, On the King's Salt. Yeah, but I like that team. That team's not a bad team. I think in a few years it's going to be really good. The Gorge is a good coach. It was interesting for Ford to go up against Gorge, and this is kind of what I wanted to get to. I thought with Ford's like options just dropping away and the scramble that we had to play under, the fact that like guys were dropping like flies and things were happening, I thought Ford coached quite well. It was quite a decent.
He coached quite well
until right at the end. Yeah.
The worst mistake of any Sydney coach I've seen, and we've witnessed Andrew Gaze. I think this is probably the single worst decision in that kind of game scenario. I actually liked the last game play he dialed up to get the 3-point. I think that was a great play to get Newley open in the corner. I think great. You've definitely upped that, but why you don't call a timeout when nothing's happening, plays breaking down, and they're that's just like, why?
I feel like we saw that already this season. Did we see that in the Taipans game? Was it in the Taipans game where we didn't call a timeout and the clock went all the way down to like 3 seconds and then we had that shot at the end that he missed? Yeah, I'm sure that same thing happened. I don't know why I didn't just think of that until right then. The same thing's happened.
This was worse.
But that kind of makes me think it's Casper though. Like it's an on-court thing.
No.
Do you reckon?
No, Ford should just come out, timeout.
Yeah, straight out, just running on the court, throwing his jacket, a shoe maybe.
You got 7 seconds left, right? That's enough to dial up a basket, and then put the onus on the other team to shoot with 1.5 to 2, 3 seconds left. You know what I mean? Like that's what you need to do.
I'm sure we had the ball with like 14, 15 seconds to go.
We had the ball with 14, 15 seconds left, but it was clear with about 7 seconds to go that the play was going nowhere. No one was coming up to screen, and it was breaking down. And that's when you call a timeout. That's where
I was expecting him to just like run on the court, be throwing shoes, socks, everything, throw dengs everywhere. But yeah, it's so hard too because it's a guy you want to. It's a guy you want to do well, and it's not a mistake where you're like a Gaze type scenario where you're just like, well, Gaze is going to make this mistake. He makes the mistake, and you just go, well, that's Gazy. Yeah. He's a guy where you're just like, oh man, it's a crusher that you're like, man, why did you have to make that mistake? Why do we not have to call timeout? Like why did we have to make that error? For his sake, the player's sake, I thought, and Casper too. After having Casper had 2 like pretty good games. And you're like, Casper, like here he is. He's turning the corner. And then to make that mistake, you just like, all the credit's just gone now. You're just like, oh, that's all his credits. He's back to 0 now. Start again, Casper. Have another good game, a couple of good games, and win everyone back again.
Look, I think he made Casper had a couple of good shooting games. I think he made a lot of good choices. Yeah, only attempted 5 threes in this game.
3 of 5, 60%, which is really good.
That's so much better. You know, that's Shawnee didn't have a great game, 1 of 4.
10 assists though.
Yes.
And that's again, we were talking about the pick and roll with Hunter and Martin, a little bit with Moller as well. It's just not enough for those guys on the team for him, you know. And it's another scenario that kind of breaks offense.
Jordan Hunter, 12 minutes, 4 turnovers.
4 turnovers, 5 fouls. The last one. Let's talk about those fouls. Like Tommy's foul was just like a face up under the basket.
Yeah.
I'm more annoyed that guys are fouling out on that. Like, come on. Like, do we have to see guys foul out on they're under the basket and they matched up? Like, I'd understand if like you foul the guy out because he went up and hacked a dude trying to like save a basket.
Yeah.
And you go, that's a stupid foul. You deserve to sit down. Like, not like 2 guys just bodied up under the basket and it's like, oh, foul. And then that guy's off the floor. It's like, God damn it. And then Geordie Hunter, wasn't it a dunk? Pretty sure he tried to dunk over someone and he got fouled out.
That's right. It was an offensive foul then. His legs were in the air. He was still moving.
Yeah, pretty sure it's falling.
He jumped in front of you. Oh, man.
I hate charges, man. Like, why? I don't understand. Explain to me how, right? Not even contesting a shot. In that scenario, not even trying to contest a shot means you are rewarded with the foul. Is in the defender. I hate that, man. Like, if a guy's in the air, I don't think you can be in front of a player who's about to dunk the ball and just be like, I'm going to reward the defender who just was standing in front of a guy about to dunk all over him with a foul. Now,
well,
I hate that call.
I think we've lost the meaning of an offensive charge. We've lost the meaning. I think these days it's just like if you're able to get some part of your body in front of a guy who's going to the rim or who's going in your direction, then you got there first, and therefore it's a charge, right? But that's actually not the way it's supposed to go. It's supposed to go if you've got your feet set and you're not moving and a guy decides to barrel through you, that's an offensive foul. And I'll take it back to the Jarrell Martin, who took a charge, I think, second quarter this game. He was standing there for like 3 or 4 seconds and he got smacked into. That's a charge, right? But
the guy, like, I look at it more like if you have a chance to go around the player and score the ball, that's like if you just go straight into the player, to me, that's like, okay, and then you're opening yourself up for a charge call. But in most scenarios, like Jarrell had one in the Adelaide game where he went to go around Pinder and Pinder just kind of went like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's not a charge. It's just a textbook blocking. I hate the ones where they're like, you're about to get dunked on, you just slip underneath someone, fall over, and then just like rewarded with a charge. It's like, no, like you should be rewarded with getting dunked all over and laughed at on the floor. Like, you know, like I hate that. That was an annoying call. And in the context, you know, Geordie didn't have the greatest game. Had a couple of fouls in there that was stupid where you're just like, Geordie, like you wouldn't be fouling out if you didn't make those two stupid fouls. I think there was 2 in the second quarter. But one where he just grabbed you. One where he wasn't looking. I'm sure he had one where the ball went back up court. He wasn't even looking, and then he had to turn around and just foul. And he was like, "Oh, come on, man!" Like, I guess that's the part that's the most annoying about those fouls. But yeah, that foul for him to foul out on was just really, really annoying. But yeah, down the stretch of that game, it was tough, man. And Jarrell, we haven't really touched on Jarrell. We were kind of talking on him, basically.
If this is long term, this is our season. Really. Yeah. It's kind of, you know, a guy that puts up 20, you know, defends fairly successfully against 4 and 5. You know, 20 and 5 night guy. Yeah, Geordie's not going to put up that.
No.
Kickett is still injured. We may see something, you know, from Kickett. I don't know, man. Like, you know, if Jarrell kind of goes and he's out for the season, we get another injury replacement. Who's in the injury replacement market? For
Jonah Bolden. Obligatory. It has to be said every time.
Thon Maker. Like, get us a Thon. I don't think it's going to happen just because of the quarantine issues and things like that. And, you know,
wow, what about Brokoff going to Southeast Melbourne?
Yeah, man, that's a big coup.
Yeah,
that's a big pickup.
Yeah, it's a great pickup for them.
It's a great pickup.
But how many times we've had 3 or 4 chances this season to pick up a player of that caliber, and we kind of whiffed a couple of times. You know, Jarrell Martin was a good pickup, and I think to pick up Jarrell Martin was a hit. You know, to say that we have whiffed a couple of times, you know, we hit on Jarrell Martin. It was just an unfortunate injury that he picked up in this game. I don't trust where we're going for us to just be like, you know, we're going to pick up exactly the right, you know, big that we need to slot into this team and get our season back on track.
This is the problem. If it's an injury, you've got to think of it 2 ways. You know, you've got Kickett potentially coming back in a week or 2. Or you go overseas. If Martin's out for the year, then you go overseas. If he's out for 4 to 6 weeks, then you have to go local. And then you're dealing with, you know, who's in the centre pool locally. You know what I mean? Who have we got locally that's a centre? I mean, I haven't seen Dane Pineau anywhere. Is Dane Pineau not being picked up by anyone?
Still at Southeast Melbourne?
I don't think so.
I know Denga Kuth's unattached. He's a free agent. Pledger's a free agent. Okay. Yes, Dane Pineau apparently, according to Wiki, is still attached to Southeast Melbourne.
Okay.
But yeah, there's Pledger is still a free agent. There was another one, ex-Perth player. I can't think of who it is, but you would think surely, like, if we haven't gotten them by now, like, we're not going to get them, you know?
Well, I mean, again, it's just injury cover. If they're not playing in overseas and they're here, then, you know, we potentially could pick them up as an injury cover at this period of time, which we do need. And that's the issue, right? Is just how long this injury is going to have Jarrell out for? You know, we're 6 games in. We're looking at a 24 game season. Maybe it's going to be a reduced season. I don't know. So you know, potentially a quarter way through the season, we actually don't even know yet what this season's going to look like. And if we're halfway still not anywhere, then you know, I think you can kiss NBL 21 goodbye.
So I'm just looking on Twitter. There's a bunch of posts of any word on Jarrell Martin. No word yet. So, but it didn't look good. So I reviewed the footage. He went down. He didn't slip on the decal. So there's been a huge sort of backlash. It wasn't a decal related injury. He kind of slipped just outside it on the restricted circle, and he went off he had to be carried off the court. And that was the first thing I was like, well, that's the end of that. Like, you know, usually when you're getting carried off the court in that scenario, it's not good. And you go, okay, yeah, fair enough. But then he's on the sideline after Jordan Hunter goes down court, gets fouled. He's about to shoot free throws. And he's on the sideline, like doing work, like standing under his own weight, doing like little bends. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. Like if you're able to be carried off and then now suddenly you're doing bends on the sideline, it can't be that bad. But then he went down the tunnel and they were essentially saying like, you know, he's not coming back for the night. So at the start, like, you know me, like even when I'm watching NBA, I'm always just like amputated, like he's done, he's going to die, sepsis, it's over straight away. I went, oh no, that's it, season, like he's out. And then when I saw him doing that, I was like, oh, okay, maybe that's a 4 to 6 week injury. But I don't know, it was a bit of a strange one.
It's tough in this league when 4 to 6 week injury literally means like a 10 game stretch out of 24. And you're like, and there's the season done. So it's going to be, it's attrition this year. It really is attrition. It's the survival of the fittest because Cooks is another 2.5 months away.
And we saw Glover on the sideline too, and it did not look like Glover was anywhere in the next month or maybe even 2 months back. Like he still had the crutch and was heavily
strapped and limping.
What do you call it? A moon knee?
It's called a ROM knee.
Yeah. So it's like a moon boot, but for your knee.
It's range of motion knee brace. Yeah, and Kicker looked okay, which was good.
Good address too, and that's, you know, address the crowd.
Yes, indeed.
It's a shame we didn't sign Humfo back. He could have crooned, put a song out.
Bit of Elvis Valentine's Day special.
Yeah. So yeah, worried, man. Very worrying. I don't look on our track record of signing injury replacements and not being able to get some of the better sort of rim protectors that are still out there. I'm still looking at this going, ooh, like I don't think we're going to get a good replacement, even if we do get a replacement. So I'm just fingers crossed hoping that he's all right.
I agree.
Non-contact injury. Anything else from this game? Newley's again. He's around the basket game. He almost looked scared in this game to get to the hole. It was like he was in his own head.
He might be injured. I don't know. Maybe he's carrying something we don't know about, and it's just like, well, Newley, you have to play because we have no one else.
Scary. And DJ. Oh yeah, we should actually talk about that final play. DJ basically had to be off the floor because Didi was back. Forgot about that. Didi minus 13 on the night, just doing his plus minus justice again.
Yeah. I think it wasn't. I mean, down that stretch where we kind of came back and made it a game, Didi played really well defensively. He really
and
did.
That's his. I think that's his way back into form.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't. I almost feel like he hasn't really shot the ball that well this year, even when he has been healthy.
But he hasn't really been healthy all of this year. He's had back complaints. And this is 2 years running he's had back complaints now? Mate, if you're the Pelicans, you're like...
Yeah, a little bit like, ooh, don't know about this. But it's the Pelicans. They got Zion, so he can afford to kind of just coast a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's still a little, And he looked good defensively. He was very solid staying in front of guys. Yes. So hopefully in the next few weeks, if he can get back to some sort of defensive frame, then he can go a long way to getting back on offense. Because 1 of 6 on the night. Every time he put up a shot of 3, 5 from 3, I just was like, that's not going down. Like it just didn't even look.
It's missing by a long way.
Look good. But yeah, so that whole fourth quarter where essentially we had to play 7 minutes without a center. A lot of people were sort of saying DJ should have come back in. But how well Bruce has been playing this season defensively, I don't think you could have brought him back for Bruce, because they kind of rinsed DJ a couple of times very early on in that game. Part of their run to sort of make it, I think it was about 12 out of 12-point lead at the start of the game, was basically they were abusing DJ. Biggest scoring run, 8. Oh, biggest lead, 12, yeah. So they were kind of abusing DJ a little bit. And then, yeah, so that lineup, what was it? It was Ware, Moller, Lazada, Brad Newley, Sean Bruce. And that was 7 minutes of, I don't know if you could have brought DJ back. Like, a lot of people were upset that he didn't come back in the game. I don't know if you could have brought him back, really.
Well, yeah, because I think the flow of the game was that we were going for tit for tat, really. So it was Casper dialing up some good offense. It was Moller on the defensive end. Lazada was locking guys down. You can't really put two shooters in. You need someone who's going to facilitate the offense. And you know, Brucey 10 dimes, you know, that's the guy who's going to potentially work in the pick and roll and defend quite well. I mean, he didn't have a great offensive game, but yeah, I would agree with Ford there that, you know, it at that point it was hard to bring DJ back in. You know, if we're 8 points down, then yeah, you kind of bring him back in for some firepower, but you go and tit for tat, then you got to keep it as is.
So it's Bruce assisted Ware with 6 minutes to go. Moller assisted Newley. DJ hit Lazada hit a 2 floating jump shot from Casper, layup for Casper, free throw because it was a and one. Shawnee Bruce assisted Moller again on a driving layup, and Ware with another ISO jumper, unassisted, and then that was it. So what about that final play? I thought I was watching, I can't remember who it was, Jason Tyrell, I think it was, had a video of it, and it looked like a breakdown. Deng Deng actually didn't know who he was guarding, and Diddy was the guy who come off a screen and then was going to shoot it, and obviously he's not shooting the ball. He's 0-5, finds Newley in the corner, and corner Brad's always best Brad. He just missed it. It was a bit of a disappointing end.
I liked it.
I like that play, but I would have liked to have seen DJ shoot that.
Yeah, it's kind of, you know, in that last, this is where you bring DJ back in for that last dial-up play. There's no point putting Moller in on the floor with 3 seconds left. You know what I mean? Like there's another shooter. You put all your shooters in and you set a couple of rub screens and you get him open in the corner or even off a curl. I like the play, and don't get me wrong. I actually thought the play was good. It was, no team would assume that you're going to Brad Newley in the corner for your final shot, and he's been shooting the ball at 50%. And he's a 15-year veteran of the game. So I'm definitely happy that the shot went to him. But,
yeah, I think the only other shot might have been a DJ. You know, maybe DJ gets that look that Lazada got, turns and shoots it. You know, I think that probably would have been maybe the only other. It's also not really his strong side. I think DJ kind of likes to shoot it from the opposite side. But yeah, it's a shame, a real heartbreaker. I think it would have been a bit of a burglar if we had come back and won that game somehow. Yeah, a little bit of a burgle. But yeah, it wasn't to be. Now we're moving on to, I think there's cup fixtures to come.
Do 3, 2, 1?
Yeah, no, I'm just sort of saying now we're looking at cup fixtures. So there's a couple of double rounds coming up with this cup. I think games are going to come thick and fast. What's your feeling on where this team is?
For my mind, we're probably just above the Breakers. I think we can pull out a couple of wins here and there, but with the injuries, with Martin down, look, if we make these games competitive, I'll be happy, to be honest with you. If we just don't get blown out, if we make these games competitive, we can get, close enough to, that'll be a good outcome for me. Get these guys playing together. But yeah, I'm not hoping for miracles. This isn't the same feel as last year. We're just like, we got Bogut, got Lazada, we've got all this firepower. We're going to win. This is it. We're going to win. We've got a great coach. This year feels like, well, it's COVID. These guys haven't played basketball in a fucking long time. They're all, taking pay cuts. We don't have the same caliber. We don't have the same firepower. Bogut's kind of dicked us around and retired too late, so we couldn't go after like a really We got lucky with Joel Martin. We don't have a traditional center. We don't have a traditional rim protector. Hunter's been decent this year, not outstanding, not really a scorer.
It's kind of second year level though, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Look, for a guy that played college for 4 years in the American system, I'm just very surprised that he isn't more aware of what's going on. Sometimes
was quite well, not like great, but quite well lauded and well respected too. I'm still a little bit like, what's going on there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Just quickly, I think it was 6 wins and 1 loss to start last season. That obviously kind of helps, getting 6 wins and 1 loss to start a season. But looking at some of these plus minus numbers, Didi last year was at plus 31. He's currently at minus 20 this season. And then who is the other one? It's Newley was at plus 35. And he's currently at plus 1. So there's definitely issues, I think, collectively on this team in the makeup of these lineups. And there's a lot of glue, but not enough things to glue together. Really, yeah. I think is the best way to describe that. All right, let's move to tipping. Round 6 is apparently the cup.
The lockdown cup.
Yeah, the lockdown cup. So we heard anything else on what's happening with that cup? We haven't really, have we?
I don't know. Yeah, man. This will be some announcements this week. The lockdown's meant to end on Wednesday, so I suppose we'll know more then. But you know what Dan Andrews are like. This could go on till 2022.
Hey! He's acting on advice. Come on, mate.
Mate, when Lee Sales from the ABC grills you for 10 minutes, then you know that there's problems.
Yuck. So yeah, let's talk about cup. Are you fired up? No.
No. Why are we doing this?
Such a gamble, man. Like I applaud the NBL for being like, let's zany it up. Let's try and throw something in the mix. But this all just feels a bit like, ooh, like what are we doing here, boys? Like a bit.
It's the wrong year to bring this in. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, we're going to play some games and we don't know where they're going to be, and we're going to do it, and then we're all going to go down to Melbourne for 4 weeks and play a cup. You're just like, one, the teams are struggling, so how are you going to structure it where there's, just play in their home arenas, let the fans come and pay to see these teams play. So now you're going to have potentially 8 games where Cairns isn't getting paid, although they've had a good home stretch run. Sydney's not getting paid. The Hawks aren't getting paid. Like, it's just, to me, it was just like, and you can potentially win 150 grand. It's just like, no.
Well, now think about Sydney. We have to play 2 games at home and be like, yeah, home. And then just be like, and now we're back on the road. Great. Playing another 8 or 9 games, I think it'll end up being. More than that, maybe even. Yeah, it's just no thanks. But so essentially, round 6 was announced. So we'll go through. Do you want me to read you out the fixtures?
Yes, please.
So as I go, or do you want?
Yeah, as you go. We'll go.
As you go. Okay, because I haven't done the tips either. I only just put them together just before we started here tonight. First game, Taipans versus Hawks.
I'm gonna have to go Hawks, man.
I'm riding this Hawks train.
Yeah.
I'm just so bummed that we didn't get Gorgie, man. Let me just quickly bring up. I had the actual draw itself that I got it on. No, I'm not going to be able to pick it up, I don't think. No, I don't think I'm going to. All right, we'll just go how it is. United versus Perth.
United.
What's up with Perth? Just getting hammered the other night.
Yeah, hammering SEM and then just getting hammered.
Yeah, it was weird. I'll also go United. They'll be undefeated, continuing their undefeated streak. Southeast Melbourne versus the Bullets.
I'm going to go with the Bullets, man.
Bullets, they won tonight.
Sobe's just Rat Boy's on fire.
Yeah, the rat. The rat. He looks like a rat. It's hilarious. Southeast Melbourne. Rowdy's not going to be down there yet.
No, he's going to do his 2 weeks quarantine.
Tough one. Now I know why I do these before the pod starts, because I'm sitting there going, Let's go Bullets as well, I think. Kings will be playing the 36ers again.
Now we just have 0 centers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go Adelaide.
Although, Geordie did do a decent job on Isaac.
He did, but I don't trust him to play 32 minutes and not foul out. So I'm going to go Adelaide.
All right, I'm going Kings just for fun. Still like tipping the Kings. Hawks will be playing New Zealand.
Hawks.
Yeah, I had that typed out before you even said it. Hawks. United will then be playing the Taipans.
United
again. Then the Kings will be playing Perth in a grand final rematch.
I'm going to go Kings on this one.
Kings. You like the Kings up against Perth?
I do. Because
Perth have got like this weird array of, if Cotton's not playing well, it's like, well, Toddy Blanchfield. And you're like, Toddy Blanchfield just fires up bombs. Like, it's so unusual to see a Perth team that doesn't just have like, wow, you've got a second scorer that just takes over and like exists in your offense in the way you play. Like it's him just firing up bombs. It just looks bizarre to me.
It's feast or famine. They're like the J.R. Smith of the NBL. And they just Nick Kay. If Nick Kay plays with them, it's like, yeah, Perth. But I think Geordie and Moller can get under their skin a bit and they can speed the pace up. We've got good defensive guards. Casper's been defending really well. So I'm going to go with Kings on this one.
He always gets rinsed by Bryce Cotton, but...
Yeah, we'll see how we go.
I went with Kings also. So 36ers and Southeast Melbourne is the last fixture in round 6.
Southeast Melbourne.
I might go 36ers just for fun. 3-2-1. Sorry, we should have done that before.
First game.
Sorry about that.
I'm going to go Jarrell, Casper, and then DJ.
I went Ware, Martin, Bruce.
Okay.
Shawnee B, because he hit some big buckets.
Second game, Moller, 3. Ware, 2. Bruce, 1.
I went DJ, Ware, Bruce. Sorry.
That's all right. I just think Moller, man, just the way he played down that 7-minute stretch, I just can't go. That is a man of the match performance.
It was a Herculean effort.
It was. Grandiose.
I think that's about it. So any other things we kind of need to talk about before we get out of here?
Not really. I suppose we'll come back next Monday and talk about what kind of happens at this cup.
Yeah, we got to do a little research and do a little looky into what's going on here. Because I just got a feeling this is going to be like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? But I'll go back to I always say it every time we talk about it. It's like, why didn't they run this side by side, man?
Yeah.
I would have loved that. That would have been awesome to run a side by side cup. Where it's like, ooh, knockout competition, sweet. And you throw a bunch of pub teams in there, rec center teams, bang. Like, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And you get the rec center teams involved, get everyone involved. But it's gonna be a struggle. All right. So as always, if you've gotten this far, make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, as well as if you want to listen to this on audio form, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, and Spotify. And as always, we will see you guys next time
on the King's Dime.